I ordained in October 2013, and then about 2 months later, I went back to Singapore, where I was born and raised, with Venerable Children as her assistant on a teaching tour. And what I remember most about that first trip was how it was when we arrived at the airport. The Friends of Sravasti, Abbey, Singapore are always there to give her a very warm welcome. So they were there at the airport, and it was quite overwhelming, people with katas and offerings. And of course, my family was there as well. And it was the first time they were seeing me in robes. So I remember stepping out, and what I remember was that my sister was crying. I have a younger sister who's 4 years younger. And when my sister cries, it's not like quiet tears you dab away. It's like big tears, her whole face is pink. It's like rivers are flowing down her face. I'm like, okay. So, it's a big gathering, and near the end of that, then the question comes up of how we're going to go to the center where we're staying. And of course, I should be riding in the car with Venerable, driven by a volunteer to go to the center. But of course, my family's like, you're not going to ride in our car? And that first trip back, I just caved in and found some way to, okay, you take Venerable, bye-bye, and sneak off in the family car, right? And so I'm riding in the family car. Usually we're very chatty, but, this time my parents really have no idea what to do with me. So it's quiet. It's very quiet in the car, and my sister is still crying. And she will not stop. It's like a 15-minute car ride, and she cries, and she cries, and she cries. So I'm sitting there, and at some point I say to her, hey, I'm not dead yet, I'm still your sister. And somehow that seems to even make things even worse, and she continues to cry. But I remember that moment so clearly because I felt like I was in my own hearse. Here's your whole family grieving your death, but you're still here. And it makes me really appreciate monastic life, because I think it is the only time where you actually get to rehearse for your own death. Like Venerable Soltrim pointed out yesterday, most of the time, time of death is uncertain, it just happens. But for me, the whole process of preparing for monastic life and getting ordained was an amazing rehearsal for death. You start to figure out what you don't need and can let go of and can give away. Right? Most of the time you don't have that kind of luxury, right? Like certain books, I wanted to go to certain people. I could even plan for that. Yeah, for all of you who love planning, this is a great plan for your death. I had the opportunity to make amends, because I really asked myself, if I'm leaving this country and ordaining overseas, and there are certain people I might never see again, who do I need to see and make amends with? And it gave me the courage to reach out to a friend I hadn't talked to for more than 10 years at the time. We had fallen out after high school. We even met at the high school reunion, and I could see she was still very emotional about it. For me, I just withdraw and shut down, and hide that way. So I thought, I really need to clean things up with her. That's the one big regret I will have if I don't reach out. So I did, and it was a really wonderful meeting. We just caught up after all that lost time, forgave each other. I remember before I left Singapore to move here, she sent me photos of her first child. She had just given birth. So, we were celebrating each other's new paths. And I think if I had not decided to ordain, I might have just let that fester and continue and, pretend like it didn't happen. So I felt that was just such another gift of just even having a monastic aspiration got me to clean up a lot of these emotional relationship loose ends. So that first year in Singapore, I really felt like I was a ghost. It was very surreal. It was like I had changed my appearance. I had this new name, right? And you're just wandering around all these old places, and you don't relate to them the same way anymore. Your family relates to you differently. Most surreal, I will say, is that I had been so-and-so's girlfriend in the Buddhist community, and we were both like a good Buddhist couple and knew a lot of people. It was to meet those old friends I had known in that capacity in a different way. So there was a whole group of Buddhist youth I had known through my ex-boyfriend, whose parents know Venerable Children, whose grandparents know Venerable Children. They are like longtime donors and supporters of the Abbey. So we would go to lunch, Dana, and I didn't know the kids would be there, right? We would go, and she relates to their family. I'm like, oh, it's all these people who know me as so-and-so's girlfriend. But now I'm not that person anymore. that person is dead. I am here in a new capacity, and we're working out our relationships all over again. So it's just been an interesting journey that way. I will say it was very difficult emotionally at times. I think that first year I came back to the Abbey and we went straight into Vajrasattva retreat. And I had like a spontaneous full body skin rash that I think might have been psychosomatic. I don't know, like, whoa, your whole identity has changed. You've died, you've been reborn in some way. I think it was Venerable Chuni who was saying, you can intellectually prepare for ordination or like think about these changes, but when they actually happen, it's like, wham, you're living the full force of that. I see the people who are more newly ordained nodding hard. That's why the first 2 years are hard. It's like there's no amount of mental, intellectual planning can prepare you for the actual live process of dying in some ways. Yeah, but this is just a rehearsal in this life and an incredible privilege. I will say too, because in this rehearsal so far, I've had a happy ending. Yeah, I mean, the actual time of death, I really don't know where I'm going to go, as Venerable Sultrim mentioned yesterday. I don't know what kind of karma is going to ripen. Good luck, right? Whatever's happening there. Really hope that you can steer your mind in the right direction. In this rehearsal, I have been reborn here at the Abbey, in Pure Land, where there's an amazing community, qualified teachers, incredible resource, constant study and practice of the Dharma. So that's something I really rejoice in. It's happy ending so far, happy ongoing ending. So I guess I was thinking about how when we prepare for ordination, sometimes that kind of sets you up just the whole concept of preparing for ordination, as if it's like, oh yeah, some kind of external attainment, that you're gonna do certain external things, save up certain amount of money, get clothes or whatever. That is not what it's about at all. I think the best way to prepare for ordination is to prepare for death. And I think Venerable Sultrim made that point very eloquently yesterday. The process is similar. It's a process of letting go of a lot of your afflictions or things that you have attachment to. And if you prepare that way, preparing for death, whether you get ordained or not, I think the aspiration itself, your practice itself, is the reward. It will be very meaningful, whatever actual external choice you make. If you do your practice like you're preparing for death, and that's what motivates your practice, then that is the best way to prepare for ordination. And also, you are making the greatest, best, most amazing long-term plan you can make for all your future lives and beyond. Instead of planning for this week, next month, next year, how if your mind just gets fixated on that kind of preparing for ordination, it's really small, and so much of it is not within our control. Karma ripens, things change, your body is impermanent, really, who knows? But if you prepare for death, then I think, all kinds of things fall into place in your practice. So in closing, I wanted to share a piece of advice that Venerable Children gave me years ago that I keep close to my heart, where we were on another trip, and of course I had planned everything under the sun. And I think we were trying to figure out how to leave one place and get to another, and she didn't say how she wanted to leave, so I had probably planned 3 possibilities that I was waiting to present at the right time. And then she just looked at me and said, you make so many plans, but have you made any plans for your next life? And I was like, no. So that was just a good, sobering reminder of how to work with the planning mind, what it means to plan and prepare, but most importantly, it gave me a lot of guidance on how to guide my practice.